Yuengling, they hit Philadelphia really hard, and then the Penn State students went back to college and started asking everybody in State College for Yuengling. And they're like, I think we can get that. And then, of course, everybody that lived everywhere else in the state got it. And they went home and like, where's the Yuengling? And that just blew things up.
Wow.
I was actually talking to a guy who managed Zena's pub up in State College I think he managed it for like 32 years. And he told me about the first time Dick Yuengling came to visit. He said, it was a madhouse. People were in here for an hour and a half before he showed up, just drinking Yuengling and screaming and going. When he walked in the door, you'd have thought it was, a major sports celebrity or, I don't know, Bruce Springsteen.
Welcome back to the Brew Dad Podcast. I'm your host, Richie Tevlin, joined as always by Evan Blum.
Hello.
First off, subscribe on YouTube. Thank you to our sponsors, The Beer Accountant and Zilk & Co. Thank you for everything. And tonight we have on a legend, the voice of Pennsylvania beer, the voice of whiskey in Pennsylvania, the host of What's Brewing PA, the author of Pennsylvania Breweries, the author of American Whiskey, a masterclass. Just came out today. Today, the author of over 10 books about beer and whiskey. So we are here to learn all about beer and whiskey. But Mr. Lew Bryson, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Thank you.
Miss anything?
No, I don't think so. Okay. Let's got it. Yeah. I do a podcast about Central Pennsylvania food and drink, seen through a glass.
Cool. Yeah. Great podcast. I've listened to a couple episodes. It's very good.
Thank you.
So your story begins way back in the day.
Yeah. Dinosaurs ruled the earth.
So I know you're mostly about whiskey now, but you talk both about beer and whiskey. But when does your story start? Like, how did you get into the alcohol journalism scene?
Wow. I started keeping a beer diary. Oh my God.
About what you were drinking?
Yeah, it was like 1985. I was out in California and I was really starting to run into the first brew pub. I went to the Front Street Pub in Santa Cruz, California. It was a brew pub. They had 3 beers. They had a gold, an amber, and a porter. That was, and I was blown away.
That's cool.
It was really cool. And I had a little notebook with me. I had just moved there like maybe 3 weeks before, and my boss's husband told me about this place. So it was like an hour away. I drove up over the mountains to Santa Cruz and went into this place. And I happened to have this little notebook because I was like keeping notes like there's the laundry is here, that kind of stuff. It became my beer diary. I wrote like 4 pages that night. Blown away by the flavor. And, I kept the diary for, I didn't actually write a piece as such and sell it until 94. And
that was an article somewhere, or was that?
A friend of mine, the local beer distributor, he had a 1-page newsletter, and I was working at a small pharmaceutical in Fort Washington at the time. He came in and flipped this thing on my desk. He's like, "You write better than this," because I've been sending out emails to the guys in the chem lab and such about. I was writing stuff about beer.
Yeah,
because it just fascinated me, and I liked writing, and I looked at him like him, and I just dummied one up like a 2-page thing and took it over to the beer distributor and like, I can do better on your newsletter. I can do better for you. You can do better on it. This one's free. If you like it, we can talk about moving on from there. And that was it. And I got lucky because a regular custom there, got the second one and took it up. And he was friends with John Hansel, who at the time was running Malt Advocate, which would become Whiskey Advocate, which is like an international magazine now.
Yeah.
And he showed this to John. And Malt Advocate at that time was, I don't know, something like 16 pages stapled in the middle. And he's like, yeah, this guy writes pretty well. You should get him. And he got in touch with me, and then I sold a piece to him. I did that beer newsletter for 7 years. And that, I learned a lot.
What were you writing about back then? Was it just a new brewery that was popping up?
Thing, everybody would talk to you back then. The second episode or second issue I did, I went up and interviewed FX Matt at the brewery in Utica.
Yeah.
I went up, I interviewed him. The next one, no, the fourth one, I went and I interviewed Steve Hindy at Brooklyn Brewery.
Wow.
Because
nobody was asking
nobody
questions.
was writing about it. Nobody in the newspapers was writing about it. Nobody in magazines. People didn't write about it in magazines for years. But I got some great interviews there in those first few years. And I still do but now it's different. You gotta know somebody who knows, the whole thing. But back then I walked around Brooklyn for like an hour and a half with Steve Hindy out on the sidewalk, just feverishly scribbling. And he was telling me, he told me everything. It was great.
And this was for a malt advocate, or this was?
No, this was just that damn little beer distributor newsletter. And he knew that, but it was going directly into the hands of people who wanted to buy beer, and that was good for him.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Podcast didn't exist back then either.
Yeah. It's, wow. So I did that, and I wrote more for Whiskey Advocate, and after a while, after about a year and a half, I was made the managing editor, which, essentially meant that I did, a bunch of the work behind the scenes as well as writing. But that grew into, because within 3 years we started doing whiskey articles, and, we kept doing beer articles, I want to say up through 2000, and then whiskey just kind of exploded, and we were getting so much advertising money from whiskey that there wasn't a point in doing beer anymore.
Yeah.
And that's really, to be honest, that's why I write about whiskey more than beer now. It pays better. The whiskey writing, and unfortunately, even now in 2025, it's because whiskey gets more respect, which bothers me every time I think about it, but it's true.
I don't know much about, as much as I know about beer, I don't really know anything about whiskey. Is there like a craft whiskey boom? Was there a craft distillery?
Yeah, there's like 3,000 distilleries in the country now.
Was it happening kind of in parallel?
What's that?
Was it happening in parallel to the craft breweries, or was it
it's
not
funny.
connected?
It is paralleling the development of craft breweries. It's almost 20 years behind, but on the other hand, the timeline is compressed. And I have a theory that it's because everybody's already seen this work for craft beer. See, craft brewers had to convince people that they had to convince wholesalers that it would sell. They had to convince retailers that people would actually come in for it and buy it. I remember I convinced a couple of retailers because I wanted beer at my local bar. But when it came to craft distilleries, and they had to convince fabricators to make smaller tanks for them to use, But when the craft distillers came along and started saying the same thing, a lot of the wholesalers were like, oh, wait a minute, we could get in at the ground floor on this one.
Yeah.
So there was a lot less convincing had to be done.
Was there legislature also?
There was, and it fell into place quicker. The main problem, of course, is that hard liquor is really scary, to legislators, because they're convinced that we're all going to go crazy and run in the streets, because whiskey is like dynamite. So that took a little bit longer. And there's still more restrictions on it, but once they saw the tax money they were making,
they changed the mind.
Kind of went away too,
Yeah.
So, a lot of distilleries sprang up. That was a little bit slower just because there were those legislative hurdles to get through. But man, once a majority of the states got that ironed out, they just started. There's about 200 in Pennsylvania. And most of these 3,000 are making whiskey. I smoke meat. I like doing that. I have fun. I have one of the Kamado cookers, and there's this whole thing in the meat smoking and barbecuing community that you're not really a man if you haven't done a brisket. It's the same thing with whiskey. You know, you can make your rum and your gin and all that crap, but not really a distiller unless you're making whiskey. And it's weird. It's stupid because making a really good gin is not easy. The distillation part is maybe easier than whiskey. You don't have to age it, but the botanicals are a whole thing. Whiskey doesn't have to do any of that. You got to get that stuff right.
Is whiskey really like an American thing also?
Oh, no. I mean, this one,
Irish whiskey. But
yeah, I actually did a book before this that was just whiskey masterclass. And what both of the books is pulling out all the different things that go in, how flavor and aroma is created in whiskey. And in the first book, I did it on all of them: American, Japanese, Canadian, Irish, and of course, Scotch. And some of these other countries are making whiskey now: Finland, India, Taiwan. But then my publisher was like, "Look, people really want to buy a book about American whiskey," which they do. I mean, I watched that. You know, I did these 2 books that were both all about all kinds of whiskey, and somebody would write a bourbon book and it would kick my ass. So I was like, "Yeah, I'm all in on that." And so I got to write more about the American stuff. I mean, I dove even deeper on that. That was fun. I learned things. This is the best thing about writing for me. I love learning things, and I love traveling to see things.
Cool. So it's a lot of traveling, like you're going out of these places.
Yeah. I mean, West Coast, Kentucky, obviously.
Yeah.
Tennessee. And when I did the Whiskey Masterclass books, I didn't get to Japan, but I was all over Canada, which was, I mean, that's a lot of travel getting across Canada.
Definitely.
A lot of Canada.
Definitely.
Scotland, Ireland. So that was pretty great.
So when did the Pennsylvania Breweries come out? Was that
first one was 98.
Okay.
I think there were, gosh, I don't even know. There was under 100 breweries. And then by the time I did the 4th edition, we did 4 of them. 4th edition came out in 2010. I think there was like 140, 150.
Wow.
And I think there were maybe 20 left of the first ones that I wrote about.
Wow.
A lot of opening and close. I mean, a lot of them opened, but a lot of them closed.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I'm not sure how many would still be open from that first one. Not a lot.
So I've not read the book, but I've seen the PBS documentary.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of based on the book.
That was a lot of fun to do, actually.
It was cool. I mean, it's an hour-long PBS documentary about...
Well, it was actually the station up in Erie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, WNEW. Actually, this guy drove down. He drove from Erie to Bucks County, met me for lunch. We did the whole deal right then, and there was no deal. I'm like, and is there payment? He's like, oh, no, this is public broadcasting. This is for exposure. I'm like, okay. And we had lunch, we shook hands, and he drove back to Erie. I'm like, what is the matter with you people? That's a long damn day.
So how did that go? I mean, you're getting interviewed in it.
Yeah, I mean, I drove up there with my dad.
So where?
To Erie.
Okay.
It was all done, all those shots of me are all done in one morning in a pub in Erie. We got in there at like 8:30 in the morning. At one point, I watched really closely because I knew it was happening. You just catch a glimpse of this woman like swimming. Yeah. And it was just, me in front of a camera, and they would have me look at a section of the book, and I would just kind of ad lib from that, and we'd go on to the next one, and then the whole wind up, the end was just something I'll admit it, it's something I came off the top of my head while I was in the bathroom. I just thought of that, and I'm like, I have an idea. And he's like, okay, go ahead, run with it. And, I wound up, and Tom's like, that's great. We're going to go with that. And
it seems to come very natural to you.
I mean, at that point, I was just like, yeah, sure. I've been making up words for a long time here. I can do this.
That book is cool because there's been, in the day and age that we're at with like social media, there's so much information about like the new breweries out there, but we've had Rich Wagner on and talked about like the history of like Philadelphia breweries.
Yeah, I've been on shows with Rich.
Yeah, and it's that's my favorite part is like the history of like the older like the older regional breweries in Pennsylvania, and then that documentary like has some of the new guys in it. It had like Victory, it had Weyerbacher, it had Appalachian Brewery, it had like some of these like what we would consider old school breweries now.
Right.
Back in the day, they were like cutting edge.
Yeah.
You know, like just had opened breweries.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, what was that transition like when you were covering it? Like, was it, because it seemed like it was like this weird transition where it was depressing because there was a lot of breweries that were closing.
Oh, yeah.
That had been around for generations. But then that was kind of the start of the Pennsylvania craft beer scene. So then there was like this excitement also.
Yeah. Oh, very much so. I mean, I know we were just kind of hoping that some of these guys would hang on. Yuengling, the first time I went to visit Yuengling, and I've visited the Yuengling Brewery, got to be close to 40 times now. The first time I went was in 1986, and they were running like 2.5 days a week. And that was better than they had been because they got a little surge after the bicentennial.
So I've heard that Yuengling, they reinvigorated themselves because they launched themselves into the Philadelphia market and like kind of started pushing Yuengling lager really, really hard.
Well, actually, it started with the Black and Tan.
Okay.
The Black and Tan was what really started things, and then the lager came along and just wedged it right open. From what I understand, they hit Philadelphia really hard, and then the Penn State students went back to college and started asking everybody in State College for Yuengling. And they're like, I think we can get that. And then, of course, everybody that lived everywhere else in the state got it. And they went home and like, where's the Yuengling? And that just blew things up.
Wow.
I was actually talking to a guy who managed Zena's pub up in State College I think he managed it for like 32 years. And he told me about the first time Dick Yuengling came to visit. He said, it was a madhouse. People were in here for an hour and a half before he showed up, just drinking Yuengling and screaming and going. When he walked in the door, you'd have thought it was, a major sports celebrity or, I don't know, Bruce Springsteen. And it was Dick Yuengling. And he said Dick was like, what the, he was really kind of freaked out by it, but then, you just kind of surf it, I guess. I saw Dick at what he later told me was one of his very first public appearances. We were at this famous beer bar that has since closed in DC, the Bricks Keller.
Yeah.
And I was down there for that event because I was working in DC at the time, and he came in and he was clearly just nervous. He was barely able to speak. And I got an autograph from him. I had a tray, a Yuengling tray, and I got him to sign it. I still have that at home. And
he looks like a celebrity now. Like he looks very pulled together.
Oh yeah,
very well spoken.
Except what the thing you don't know because you don't say he's a chain smoker.
Really?
Oh my God! I was interviewing him, and he was like lighting off the tip and scrubbing it out in like a styrofoam coffee cup, and just not affected. It was like one of the first times I interviewed him, the dude's sitting in his office, literally flannel shirt, jeans, shoes up on the desk. And he's not doing it to make a point. That's every day, And he's answering the phone, taking orders from wholesalers. Because that's what Yuengling was like back in the day. Talking about, the transition. And now, good God.
Well, so at that point, were the other breweries that we wouldn't even consider that large? Like Rolling Rock was probably much larger than them.
Rolling Rock was a lot larger, but they didn't make it. They got bought. I guess they got bought by Labatt, and then Labatt got bought by Interbrew, and then Interbrew bought AB, and yada. And now Rolling Rock is made in Newark, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Rolling Rock looked pretty good back in the early 90s. I forget when Stroh was still brewing up in Allentown, outside of Allentown, where Sam Adams is now.
There's Lion Brewing too, right?
Lion, yep. Well, I mean, the line's still going,
Yeah.
pretty much.
And making Malta.
They make a lot.
Malta and Monster Energy drink.
Yeah.
Really? They moved into energy drink?
Well,
Oh no, Malta is a Goya malt soda. Yeah, but it has to be brewed. It can't just be like made. So they get a brewer to do it. And I mean, the Lion made so much Malta that eventually they had to get a bigger brew house.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
This episode of the Brewdat podcast is brought to you by Zilka & Co., your trusted regional brewing supply partner. Family owned for over 100 years of business, Zilka Brewing Supply has recently partnered with Breweries to bring you your favorite raw materials at a great price with $5 flat rate shipping. No pallet or liftgate charges thanks to their own fleet of regularly maintained trucks. With locations in Allentown and Hunker and a technical brewer on staff, they provide the expertise and service your brewery deserves. Reach out to Brad Adelson in the show notes and let him know Brewdat sent you. Hey, brewery or small business owner, are you tired of navigating complex brewery accounting and taxes on your own? Staying up late working on financials and getting your finances in order after a whole workday? At the Beer Accountant, they understand the unique financial challenges of the craft brewing industry. They're a CPA dedicated to helping breweries like yours thrive, with services ranging from qualified bookkeeping, business tax prep, to strategic financial planning. Stop wasting time on spreadsheets and focus on what you do best. Making great beer and running a small business, servicing over 50 breweries in 4 states. So if you own a brewery or small business, stop overpaying for reactive support and start being proactive with the Beer Accountant. Don't brew that IPA without this CPA. Visit beeraccountant.com to learn how their specialized expertise can help your brewery grow, profit, and succeed.
so what was so you wrote Pennsylvania Breweries.
Yeah.
The PBS documentary came out, and then were you just writing whiskey, and then like how were you involved?
I'm still writing a lot of beer at this point.
And where were you getting posted at that point?
That was, I mean, a lot of
Just newspapers to pick you
beer
up?
rags, like
Okay.
Ale Street News and Barleycorn, and God, there was one called Beer and Tavern Chronicle. And these were all, I mean, honestly, it wasn't paying much, but I was, I realize now I was getting a lot better at writing. Just because, you know, and I tell my kids this, it's a muscle. You exercise it, it gets stronger. You just got to keep writing. So I was just writing like crazy. I had a blog. I blogged over average or over like 3.5 years more than a post a day. And I was just constant.
Were you had angles that you were going for? Or it was just like whatever came across your desk, whatever you found?
Yeah, I mean, some of it was, I always preferred doing analysis to just straight news reporting. But
Yeah.
when news came across, you know, if it was interesting, I put it up. But I really did like writing, what does this mean? You know, and the more I did it, I mean, nowadays, well, let me back up. After a while with beer, I mean, my stock and trade became, you know, you think this now, but here's what it was like then. So maybe now is actually more like this.
Yeah.
It was perspective was what I had. And now in my whiskey write, I write a regular column for Craft Spirits magazine, constantly saying, you know, guys, beer's already been through this. Ask your local brewer what happened. Don't go down this trail. Craft distiller, the term was one I was like, you know, don't hold on to this too hard, because craft brewers are now like, I don't know, are we really craft brewers? Do we want to be craft breweries? Do we want to be independent brewers? Just like, you know, don't get wrapped up in this crap.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of infighting and drama in the brewing industry, and then also within the alcohol industry in general compared to everything else.
No, and then of
Like-
course there's cannabis. You know, there's
Exactly.
like coming down the road like this monster train going to run over everything.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
like we need to kind of be working together, and like there's a lot of similarities between everybody.
Yeah, and I think the brewers and distillers are starting to get that you need to work together. A lot of the problem there is the difference in tax rates. The spirits people get taxed a lot more than beer, and it pisses off both of them.
Yeah, it's almost like it's become so complicated in Pennsylvania because we can get into like the whole abolish the PLCB, but there's so many complexities between like the wholesalers and the wholesalers for beer, the wholesalers for alcohol, the state liquor stores.
Yep.
There's all these different factors where like someone's gonna have to bite the bullet, and nobody wants to do it because you're gonna put
Somebody's going to get hurt.
you're gonna put some industry out of business with whatever decision you make, and everyone's trying to fight it.
Nobody wants to do that.
But without doing it, it's like
I was just talking, I can't remember who I was talking to. Oh, it was Herman up at Dad's Hat.
Yeah.
They're talking about how, when they started selling tavern license, restaurant licenses to the grocery stores and gas stations in Pennsylvania so they could sell beer.
yeah.
Really shouldn't have done that because now it has made tavern licenses so expensive that nobody can open like a neighborhood bar because the license is like $500,000.
And they don't want to get rid of it because they already paid for it, which is what Jersey's having issues with now because the liquor licenses are so expensive. They don't want to give that.
But you can't do anything about it because then those people are out.
And they've been granted down like through generations. It's like now you're screwing over like family businesses.
Yeah. So what do you do?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a solution. It just pisses me off. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah.
So you were writing kind of like independently. I know now you're on What's Brewing PA.
Yes. When Don Russell his wife retired and he kind of retired and they moved to France, which God bless him. And he recommended me to Glenn as a replacement, which I'm grateful for. It's a lot of fun.
It is cool. It's
a long drive though.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So how often do they film?
Wow. We kind of go in seasons.
Yeah.
And so a season will be maybe 4 months and I'll tape between 6 and 9 episodes. So it's usually over the 4 months and it's spread through. I mean, when we're about to start here, when is it? The first one is September 30th. We're taping, and I think the last one for the season is like December 15th. So
There's a bunch of trips.
it is a bunch of trips. But luckily, as I mentioned earlier, my son lives down here.
Yeah.
So it's an excuse to see him. So that's good.
you also go into a bar to hang out. So
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No. Oh, my God. No, the actual taping is not a problem. And Glenn's a great guy.
we had Kate Scott on.
Oh my God. I had such a good time that time.
And she was like, Glenn just keeps it going. It's just like
She's
no
the
second takes. We're just hanging out.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's awesome. She's so knowledgeable too.
I know.
So much.
I'm just like, she knows more about this than I do. I don't know anything about what she does. Yeah. No, it's been a hoot.
Have you ever gotten into like beer judging or anything
Oh,
like
yeah.
that?
Yeah. I mean, I've judged Great American Beer Festival. That's just got to be too much work. You got to go out there and you like judge for a week. And it's exhausting. I do the New York State Brewers Guild thing every year. And that's a really intense day and a half. And that's good. I can do that.
A sprint.
Yeah, it's just, wow, man, because it drains you because you're just thinking, and they want you to, you want to give them good notes because that's really why they're entering. I mean, a medal would be nice, but they really want to get feedback, how's this beer turning? And you just don't have enough time. So you're scribbling like crazy and you're trying to get down, something about the beer. And you can't just say, wow, this is great, or boy, this sucks. You can't do that. I mean, you can do that and then say some stuff, although you really shouldn't say this really sucks. I think I have been that negative a couple of times because a couple of times the beers were so bad I got angry. Why are you wasting our time with this crap? And then there was this, God, somebody brewed a barley wine with maple sap instead of water. And it was just phenomenal. I still think about that beer. I found out who brewed it, and I go back there hoping to find it, but because we have family in upstate New York, and I go up there and I'm like, hey, could we go over to Eli Fish? Could we go over there? I just want to see what they have on.
Go check them out.
Yeah.
Do you do whiskey tastings?
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's That's seriously debilitating.
Yeah, how does that work? Because for beer, you take a little sip, you breathe through it.
Yeah.
Are you spitting it out or?
Usually, I mean, when it gets down to ones where I really want to get more at the finish, you're gonna swallow some.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you though, the last competition I was at, because a lot of times they're just like general spirits competitions, and last time we got coffee liqueurs and Amaros and gin, and we're all like, I mean, at least 3 of us were straight up whiskey people. I mean, the one guy made whiskey, right? So the steward comes in with the last round of, I don't know, whatever freaking stuff we were getting, cream liqueurs. And it didn't taste like, are we going to get some whiskey? It's like, oh, yeah. Actually, the next round is whiskey. Like, okay, flavored whiskeys. Peanut butter and fruit punch. Oh.
We were flipping through your book before, and Screwball was up there.
Oh, yeah. Well, I have to be honest. For what it is, Screwball's well executed.
Okay. That's what we said. We're like, I love Screwball. Let's not tell Lou.
Oh, no. I mean, they do a good job with it. It's not disgusting, and the peanut flavor is for real.
Definitely,
Yeah.
and it mixes well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different mixtures you make with it.
And that's what a lot of people like to hate on things like Fireball. First off, Fireball sells so much Fireball that it's financing their whiskey operation.
Yeah.
So I'm like, let's have at it. And second, you mix it with some cider, and that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I hate to admit it, but that's pretty good.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, and then I have, everybody sends you samples. So I've got a home bar with 1 tap of beer and a tap of seltzer, which I can also put, I can make up like batch cocktails and run off that tap too. I have, I think like 6 bottles of wine. Just because, people come and ask for wine. I have maybe, I don't know, another 15 bottles of like gin and rum and vodka. And then I have over 800 bottles of...
I was going to ask, you haven't mentioned whiskey yet.
It's out of control. I don't even know how much whiskey I have. I have to be honest, because we moved it all out of the house to a friend's basement because we were remodeling. And I've moved it all back, and I've got 36 cases put away. And then there's another 40 cases still sitting out in the bar. I have no idea what to do with it. My wife's not going to hear this, so I'm serious. I don't know what I'm going to do with it.
Is it just like, I feel like it's just taking up a ton of space. Like you can't.
It does take up all the space, but I mean, it's all in a case.
Right.
It's all in cases, so it's at least stackable.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I can't really have a party in the bar, not now, because there's boxes sitting along both walls. And then I got into the whole cellaring beer thing, and honestly, most of those we're going to open them up and do like and dump them, and I ought to just start doing that. Before we left, we used to live up in Langhorne in Bucks County, and about a year before we left, I was telling somebody, a brewer, it's like, I just got all this cellared beer. I don't know what to do with it. He's like, dude, you need an ROS party. I'm like, what? He said, really old shit. That's what you need. And we had one, and we had people, oh my God, a friend of mine came down from Canada, and we drank beer. We got through 5 cases. I'm like, what? This is not, because I still had another 17.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Need some more friends.
Yeah. So I told my guys up there, and I have, it's a less populated area up there, so there's not many people to come, but I told them we're just going to start opening beers, and if they suck, we're pouring them out. So it's got to be done. Got to be done.
Nice. So you've written now 10 books.
Yeah.
You're probably pretty good at it at this point.
Hope so.
Is it just you have so much information, you're kind of like, all right, let me put some of this together, or you
I got to say, the first book, Tasting Whiskey, I did. That's when I did the trip around Canada.
Yeah.
And I went to Ireland for that. I did a special trip to Ireland, but otherwise, I mean, I had at that point, 15 years of notebooks. Just opened up notebooks and mostly wrote.
Start organizing them.
Yeah. Well, actually, my daughter indexed my notebooks for me, which has been an enormous help.
Wow.
I have 62. I keep them in a box and they're all numbered, and she indexed them, and I have it's just a Word document. It's not like a spreadsheet or anything, but she went through all of them, and what brewery or distillery, date, and then if it's a whole country, she's got a heading for that, and so it's just, I literally just used that this week because I had to write a talk for the book signing I'm doing tomorrow. I'm doing a book signing at Stolen Wolf up in Lititz, Pennsylvania. And they wanted me to do a talk on heirloom grains, like all these old strains of rye, in this case, that they're growing again to get different flavors and different aromas. And it turns out I had 3 different notebooks that had notes on that stuff, and I pulled them out, and sure enough, pretty much wrote the thing out of that. It was great.
The distilling industry, is it like the brewing industry relies so heavily on hops? I haven't even really thought about is there that much attention for different types of grain?
It's all about the grain.
Okay.
Yeah. And the paying so much attention to the grain is relatively new, because up till now, and it was a lot like the craft brewers coming along, because the big brewers were all making the same thing, except it's not. Okay, let me start over. The large distillers, at least in America, and we'll just use those for now, Beam, Heaven Hill, Brown Foreman, that makes Old Forester and Jack Daniels, Wild Turkey. I'm going to forget somebody here and hate myself. I'm just going to leave it at that for now and say most of these guys, well, really all of these guys, are so big, there's not enough heirloom grain in the country for them to make a batch, because their batch size is so big. So they use number 2 yellow dent corn, bang, done, which is the stuff, in those shots of America, the breadbasket of the world, you see pouring out of rail cars into grain silos, and that's number 2 yellow dent, because that's what the distilling industry uses. More importantly, that's what Archer Daniels Midland and Cargill and everybody else uses for making cornstarch and high fructose corn syrup.
So it was just available.
Yeah, and it's available in big enough lots that they can use it. There's the whole effect of the yeast. There's an enormous impact from the barrel and the aging. Rule of thumb in American distilling, 80% of the flavors coming from the barrel and the aging process, because it just has an enormous, and of course all the color when it comes off the still, it's like
what's in the U.S. Where are there standards as far as where barrels are made, what woods they're using?
There's a whole thing in federal regulations about how whiskey is made. The only thing it says about how the barrels have to be made for all the popular types of American whiskey, we'll say that, it has to be aged in a new charred oak barrel. Doesn't say where the oak has to come from. Doesn't say what kind of oak it has to be. In fact, until recently, it didn't even say it had to be a barrel. It said it had to be a container. So theoretically, you could have made a cube. I don't know. Nobody did, but so people think that bourbon has to be in an American white oak barrel. Doesn't. Just has to be an oak barrel. People think it has to be made in Kentucky. Doesn't. Can be made anywhere in the United States, including, because it used to say in the various states, and people are like, oh, what about D.C.? Yes, D.C. What about Blum? What about Puerto Rico? Yes, the United States and all its territories and the district. So anywhere that is U.S. territory, you can legally make bourbon, which you can legally make bourbon in Canada. You just can't sell it labeled as bourbon in America. Is what that really comes down to. And nobody would do that because we're a really big market for whiskey.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's all kinds of regs. I won't even go into them bourbon has to be 51% corn. Okay. You can't distill it final proof of more than 160 proof, more than 80% alcohol, because after that you start getting into vodka territory. It can't go in the barrel at higher than 125 proof. That's called the entry proof. It does not have an age requirement, which Canada, Ireland, Japan, Scotland, no, not Japan, excuse me, Scotland do. There's a minimum age. In Scotland, for instance, 3 years. It has to be 3 years in the barrel before you can even call it whiskey. Before that, it's a spirit.
Just regular spirit, or
Yeah, it's just called spirit or spirit drink, and nobody really sells that.
yeah,
Do people like does like Jack Daniels or like some of the large brands, do they do weird stuff where they like flash age it, or like
No.
does everyone really actually?
Everybody's researching that. I mean, I remember talking to, there's a guy, Lincoln Henderson, who was the master distiller at Brown Forman for decades. And then after he retired, went and opened Angel's Envy with his son. I remember talking to Lincoln one time. He's like, yeah, we did one of those projects back in the 60s. I was a chemist, and they gave us $250,000, which was actually money back then. And he said, eventually we got a thing where we heated the spirit and we bubbled oxygen through it. And in 5 days, we got something that looked like whiskey. Tasted like goat piss, but it looked like whiskey. I'm like, okay, all right. And I mean, there's some accelerated aging whiskey out there. And if you want something to mix with Coke, you're probably fine.
Yeah.
But every time I've been blind tasted on it, like, something they'll do what they call a triangle taste. Mm-hmm. And there'll be 3 different ones, and there'll be the regular aged and the accelerated aged, but you don't know if there's 2 of these and 1 of those, or I pick it out every time. There's always a tell. And, you're not really, I don't think, well, okay, I'll put it this way. I don't think they should be trying to imitate a 20-year-old whiskey, because it ain't going to come out. If you want to try and imitate a 4-year-old whiskey that you can sell for $15 a bottle, you can probably get away with that. But nobody wants to do that. They want to make stuff in 6 months that they can sell for $50 a bottle. I haven't tasted anything that comes anywhere close to that.
Yeah. I mean, brewers try to do it all the time. Like, big breweries have gone out of business doing it. And they're only fermenting it for 3 weeks.
Or less.
Yeah. I could imagine that like the large distilleries are like, I mean, that is a huge point.
It is
the biggest
the biggest expense they have.
Yeah.
Is keeping all that whiskey for, at the very least 2 years for American. Although, I don't know, have you seen the Pabst whiskey? They did a whiskey. It's a joke. Right on the label it says every drop aged at least 5 seconds.
Wait, what is it?
Pabst. It's clear. I mean, they're like,
Okay.
I suspect they might just be running it through a wooden pipe. I swear to God. I just, my hat's off to them, because they're getting like $20 a bottle for that. And they're like, ha, 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 ha. And Pabst's going, yeah, ha, 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 ha. But yeah, I mean, it's a gimmick. But it costs a lot, because you're losing whiskey because it evaporates out of the barrel.
Angel share, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they call it. Yeah. And I mean, in a hot place like Texas, you're losing like 14, 20%.
Wow.
In, I don't know, 3 years. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, even in Kentucky, you're figuring like between 2 and 5% a year.
the actual barrels, do they then recycle them and just continue to use them as much?
No, new charred oak barrel for American whiskey.
Oh.
That's where do you think beer barrels come from?
No, they sell them to brewers. They sell them to, I mean, Scotland takes a lot of them. Something over 80% of Scotch is aged in used bourbon barrels. Canadians, same thing. Tequila, that's where you get your Reposado and Añejo.
Is there like one barrel supplier?
No, well, I mean, there's one really large one, but then there's other ones. ISC, International Stave.
Are they located where, in the West somewhere, or
Missouri and Kentucky and California.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're still there. I've been to the cooperage in Kentucky where they make the barrels, enormous, noisy. And I've been to one of their stave mills in Missouri where they actually bring the oak logs in and cut them down to the individual barrel staves, and then those are aged out in the open air for anywhere between 6 months and sometimes 7 years. And they're just sitting there. They're just sitting in stacks out in the air and
Waiting to sit there again.
yeah. Well, I mean, there are processes going on in the wood. They're breaking down, lignins are breaking down, and they're becoming vanillin and various flavoring compounds. I'm not going to go into because I'll get something wrong, but lactones, and you're getting flavors of fig, tobacco, coconut, all this stuff is there in potential in wood, and the seasoning changes that. And I mean, a lot of distillers swear by 12 months and no more. And there are other people like, no, we age it all 5 years. I'm like, is that really helping that much? I don't know. Because that's the thing. There are so many things that go into. I mean, I got a whole book on it. Literally, so many different things that make up that flavor. It's really hard to point to one.
It probably gets to a point where there's just so much. I know with hops, like once you go over like 3 pounds per barrel, it's just like, is there a difference? It's like it's so negligible that just doing it for marketing.
Well, and when you start blending, you're like, oh, we've got 7 hops in this one. I'm like, yes, and I can taste every one. What you want to taste some whiskey?
We do.
Okay, all right. Let's start with the Old Forester. We'll do the Old Forester rye. Old Forester is a really old brand. This is annoying. Yeah, all right, I got it. Brute force it. Go ahead, help yourself. So Old Forester.
How are we drinking this? Like you just pour a little bit in?
Yeah, just pour a little bit in.
All right.
It was the first brand to be bottled. Before that, it just came in a barrel, and you went in with your own bottle and got some, which. But then they started, because everybody started doing different stuff.
Wait, I'm sorry. Can we go back? You would go. It was like everybody just had like a growler essentially. It was like
yeah. This is my whiskey jug, and I want some. And these guys a bar would just have barrels, and they, yeah. I mean, you can see sometimes you can see illustrations, and the barrels will be sitting there, or they'll be down in the cellar. That's how everything came, much less packaging. But then once they started doing it, everybody started doing it because it sold more. Mm-hmm. They could see it, and there was no tampering, which everybody was doing. Fun whiskey fact: the first food purity law in the United States was about whiskey. The Bottled and Bond Act actually predates anything. Well, it predates the FDA. So all that stuff that came around in like 1906, the Pure Food and Drug Act, whiskey was already pure.
So was there like a technology? Was it like glass manufacturing, or did something happen where like they were like
Oh no, there was so much shitty whiskey coming out. It made
as far as like the individual packaging.
That was some of it. It became available. But most of it was that they were really savvy marketers and realized that the purity thing had a lot to do with it.
Okay.
We can guarantee purity. In fact, that was one of their first ads. It's like some guy behind a cowboy with a pistol behind a rock fighting off the people who were going to mess with your Old Forester.
Is that about,
so cool?
Is that about the same? Like, was that a labeling thing too? Like, they happened at the same time. Like, you then had to officially start labeling your products.
That came later. The Bottle and Bond Act had a thing that it had. Bottle and Bond was fairly simple. Had to be 100 proof. Had to be 4 years old, which was that was the first age requirement. But that was just to be Bottle and Bond. had to be, all the whiskey in the bottle had to be distilled under the supervision of the same master distiller. So if somebody quit or died, you had to like start the clock again. And it all had to be distilled in the same season. There are 2 distilling seasons in American distilling, essentially January to end of June, July to the end of December.
And why is that? Because it's different temperature for the barrels?
It
or
is a
it's just-
different temperature for the barrels, and it's a different temperature for the still. The still runs different under different weather conditions.
Okay.
Yeah, so they wanted to try and get it as uniform and correct as possible. And I mean, the Bottle and Bond Act was a big deal, except it was voluntary. You didn't have to do it. And so these guys were still, I mean, there's recipes out there for how to make fake whiskey. You know, so much tobacco juice, so much prune juice, so much spirit. And then it's like, yeah, this is how to make old bourbon. And
Secret formula.
so it was actually President Taft who made the ruling. He's like, this will be good bourbon. And there we go. So, I mean, that's the proper use of a president's time, I think. That was actually one of the interesting, you know, I said I always learn stuff writing these books. Bottled and Bond doesn't apply to just whiskey. So there's Bottled and Bond brandy. There's Bottled and Bond, actually Laird's over in New Jersey that makes the Applejack. There's a Bottled and Bond Applejack. There's a Bottled and Bond vodka. There's rules for making Bottled and Bond vodka. And it's all the same as the others. And it has to spend 4 years in the warehouse in a barrel, but the barrel has to be lined with something to keep the vodka from touching the wood. Who made up this ridiculous
That's so stupid. I've always heard people oh, something was bonded liquor, but I was like, I never thought about it.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Cool.
It has to be at least 4 years old. I don't know if I said that, but it can be older.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, some of the is there some reasons you brought these specific whiskeys?
Yes, they were to hand. I got it.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, I brought the Dad's Hat because I was up there, and I do want to taste that for sure. But no, I mean, like I said with the 800 bottles thing, there's whiskey all over my desk. So I grabbed a couple. And I wanted to get some representatives, so I got a rye, and I got a bourbon, and I got an experimental, which is part of my work too. You know, people send me the new whiskeys, and like, what do you think? And I mean, I got to be honest. Usually, especially when they're coming from a decent distillery, which New Riff definitely is, out of Covington, Kentucky. They're one of the better craft distillers. Like, yeah, it's good. What exactly were you going for? And I mean, a lot of times it helps if you're doing it side by side with something you already know, something that's roughly similar. But you know, a lot of times, I mean, New Riff is trying some grain varieties that, I mean, they don't even know what they're going to taste like yet. Mm-hmm. And you don't know until you've had it in the barrel for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. And that's another thing, the grain. I was just talking about this with Herman on Dad's Hat tonight, and I've talked about this with a lot of distillers. Young rye, like under 2 years old, even under 1 year old, usually isn't bad. Young bourbon, not so good. I have not gotten an answer on why. Nobody seems to know, but everybody agrees that it's true.
How is the Pennsylvania whiskey and bourbon scene, like comparatively to the rest of the United States?
We definitely hold our own. I mean, Dad's Hat sells in California.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, they do pretty well. Liberty Pole is coming on real strong.
Where's Liberty Pole?
Washington, Pennsylvania, south of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, they and Dad's Hat just did a collaboration. They're good. Hidden Still in Hershey is good.
Okay.
Nobody hears it, but Barrel 21 up in State College is good, but it's pretty small output, so they're not really around much. They're doing a nice job. They have a buckwheat whiskey, which is weird but good. It's kind of earthy. It's really good. But I mean, I know of 2 buckwheat whiskeys in the country. There's another one in France, I think. and that's it. You know, there are quinoa whiskeys. There's an amaranth whiskey, which I've never even had amaranth.
Can
I
you
just know
do
it's
the
great.
quinoa ones taste different?
They sure do. Oh man,
What are they
I'm
like?
not a fan. They're really earthy. I mean,
Okay.
more so than the buckwheat. I would not go back there. Yeah, and I think there's a reason there's
Don't
not
try
a
everything
lot
at
of
once.
quinoa whiskeys. You know?
Yeah.
Is that something where you test like one barrel? You're like, okay.
Yes. And that's another thing to do. Buffalo Trace in Frankfort, Kentucky. People make blends, people make Eagle Rare, and actually nowadays they make Pappy Van Winkle too. They have a long-term experiment going on with different kinds of warehouses. They built this like test warehouse with 5 different bays, and they can change the temperature, the airflow, the light level, the barometric pressure, humidity, and they're just running these like trials that run 4 years at a time, which, wow.
God bless them.
Yeah, absolutely.
We had Tom Peters from Monks on.
Oh, yeah.
And Tom, I mean, he's aging his beer for 20 years at a time.
Wow.
And it's a lot of time.
Yeah, it is.
A lot of time.
Yeah, it is.
You gotta be patient. What's the can you walk us through, I mean, Pappy Van, I don't know much about whiskey, but I know Pappy Van Winkle is like is it the best? Is it just considered like it's very rare?
It's very good.
It's like the Mona Lisa, just everyone knows it because it's famous.
That's some of it. I mean, it is very good. I've literally stood and drunk the 15-year-old with Julian Van Winkle, and it's great. It's a good time. It's a great whiskey. I prefer the 15 over the older ones. I prefer the 15 over the 12 and the 10. I think the 15 is where that whiskey hits its best.
What happens when it gets older? Just the flavor starts to die off?
No, it just gets woody. I mean, it doesn't go away. It just, the wood overtakes it. And I mean, they do a good job of picking the least woody old barrels, but they're still pretty woody.
And what makes it different? Like, is it just different flavors that's coming through? Is it incredibly smooth?
Yeah, I mean, it's becoming overtaken by the wood, and what that, I mean, you'll get like overwhelming loads of like an acidity. It's
Is it like sour then?
It's not really sour. It's more like sharply bright.
Okay.
And then you get the tannins, so it's kind of sticky, and it's kind of harsh. I mean, it's just hot, and I mean,
brewers the same way. Some things just become a whale and they become like what they are.
Yeah, and then you got to have them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how does I know they have like the raffles and like the lotteries. Like, how does that work for like a novice like me? Can you just explain like the basics of
the state store does?
the state stores, or like, and is that like a national thing? Do like they
No, you have to be Pennsylvania resident
to get Pappy?
in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Yeah, outside of Pennsylvania, I mean, outside of the state store system, it's just like
it's
chaos. Yeah,
and Pappy just kind of spreads it out wherever, and just like
whenever stores get an allocation, they do whatever they want with it, and if that means jacking the price up to $6,000 a bottle, boom, they do that. And if that means whoever bought the most whiskey last year gets to buy a bottle at list price, that's how they do that. Or sometimes they have like a big dinner for all their best customers, and you come in and they hand out tickets, and they start drawing tickets, and they'll have like a whole rack of whiskeys up there. And if your ticket gets drawn, you get to buy one. I'm like, this is weird, but okay.
Let's gamify it and make you pay twice.
Well, that's it. And the thing is, the only reason you're paying that much is because you will pay that much.
Yeah.
And then the thing with that is, because you will pay $1,200 for a 10-year-old bottle of Pappy, they know that you will pay $60 for an Old Forester rye. They know you will because you're doing that other thing, and everything just.
I mean, it's like art, and I mean,
Yes.
as a producer, I love it.
No,
But
oh yeah,
it's I think it's part of it, and like it adds value to. I think even though it's expensive, I think people like the value of it because it makes their hobby more.
but you know what happens? What always happens?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's what happens. And we may be there now. The thing is, I don't think it's a bubble. There's back in the early 90s, there was a boom in cigars.
Yeah.
Okay. And I talked to one of the guys at Cigar Aficionado magazine. I'm like, Dave, look, I know there was a boom in cigars and then the market collapsed, but how much? And he's like, okay, so at the beginning of the 90s, before the boom hit, we were selling about 1.2 million, and I can't remember the exact numbers. These are general.
Yeah.
About 1.2 million units, individual imported cigars. At the height of the boom, they were selling about 4.4 million a year. And then the bubble collapsed and they only sold 3.1 million. So
It's so tripled, yeah.
I think it's what's going to happen with whiskey. There's just so many more people who have had whiskey. They're not going to stop. I mean, they may drink a lot more tequila. They may drink, I don't know, brandy, rum, whatever. Hell, they may drink stateside. I don't know. But a lot of people are going to keep buying whiskey. And I think that prices are at least going to stabilize, if not drop. I mean, we've seen some drops already, not big ones. And, you know, right now they're still coming as promotions that don't seem to go away.
Well, whiskey's like because it's aged so long, it's like the tail, like you can almost kind of see it coming with the volume and how much is left.
Yeah, it's like the egg and the snake.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's the thing. The decisions you made 5 years ago, now they're coming true.
And is it just them trying to regulate like how much whiskey then they're making every year? Because the hop suppliers kind of do the same thing where like, you know, they try to predict.
Yes.
Because they have to plant the crop so far.
There was a guy, Parker Beam, a good friend, distiller for a long time at Heaven Hill. And one of the last interviews I got with him before he died, he was just ranting and going on. And one of the things he said was, well, you know, we have these planning meetings every year and we come in there and we get all the spreadsheets out and decide how much whiskey we're going to make that year for how much we're going to be selling in 10 years and how much we're going to be selling in 4 years and how much we're going to be selling in 6 years. And they go on and on and on. And he said, about 12:30, I get hungry and I pick up paper and throw it out the window and I go make whiskey. Like, because really, that's all you can do.
Yeah.
You know, I talked to a guy I was over at Glenlivet in Scotland, and we're standing there. There's nobody else in the place because it's highly automated by now. We're just looking out through these big windows at the freaking hills in Scotland and sheep, and that's all there is, right? Me and him and a bunch of sheep. And he's going on about, you know, in 1975, we made 15,000 cases, or I can't remember the exact number. And now we're the biggest single malt in the world. And, you know, in 10 years, it'll probably turn down again. We're just going to keep making whiskey. So, I mean, that's a plan too. You know, if you've got the money, because then when the cycle turns, wow, suddenly you're sitting on a bunch of 20-year-old whiskey that you can sell for a lot of money. So, I don't know.
But it's at least good that it doesn't go bad. You know, like
Yes. Well, actually, it does. If it gets too old, it does go bad.
But it's a lot longer than beer. Like beer.
It is a lot longer than beer. And you can open it, and I mean, I can drink the rest of this bottle in 6 months, and it'll be fine. The other thing, like I said, I do that column for craft spirits. My latest column, I just told them, you know, it might be time to think about getting a stainless steel tank, because you can dump it from the barrels and collect it in a stainless steel tank, and it'll stop aging.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe you have a better market in 4 years. I don't know. Because right now, it's not quite firestorm time, but I think it's getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of opening, Chef, can we open up the Stats Hat?
Absolutely. Let's do that. So Dance Hat's out in Bristol. They, wow, I think the oldest whiskey they have is 11 years. This is somewhere between 2 and 4. Again, like I said, young rye is good rye.
So, can you walk us through how you're drinking this? Because I saw you smelling it like.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a little tougher in a pint glass, but still, I mean, it still comes out of the thing. You swirl it. Get the aroma. And I mean, Dad's Hat has a distinctive aroma. It really, this is a lot like, I mean, you take the heat of the alcohol out of it, and there's some fruity floral notes. But once you get past that, it smells a lot like picking up a handful of rye. Now, most people are familiar with rye, except from rye bread. Rye bread usually has caraway seeds in it, so that kind of screws up what you think of rye bread.
This is definitely more sweet than the other one. And the smell is like fruitier.
Yeah. It's not sweet as sweet on the tongue, though.
No.
More spicy.
Definitely.
Yeah. 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 Big rye fan.
I think rye has been the one like that I've been getting to a little bit more.
Yeah. Rye is maybe not as American as bourbon because, I mean, they make spirit from rye in Europe. They grow a lot more rye in Europe. Here in the States, rye is not a big crop. It's not really used anywhere near as much for baking as it is in, a lot of rye bread in Central Europe. Mostly what we grow rye for is a cover crop, just to hold the soil in place between, a year of growing corn and another year of growing corn. Because you don't want to grow corn every year because the pests find out. So you want to have a different crop in there, and they're like, shit, where's the corn? I'm leaving. So,
I thought it takes the same nutrients out of the soil.
See, this is exactly, sorry, this pisses me off about like history teachers. They're like, oh, the three-field rotation thing. Because they never mention the pest thing, and the farmers tell me, oh yeah, that's the main reason we do it. Like, it would be easy to tell you that.
No, and somebody's not talking here.
I know, and doesn't it make sense? I mean, once you find out, you're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can buy that.
Yeah, right? I don't get it. I mean, I live next to a farm where I am up there in Millheim, and this year it's in soybeans, and last year it was in nothing, and the year before that it was in corn. Boom, boom, boom.
Do you see like what's the trend with like rye? Is there like rye coming back? Is like what?
Oh yeah. I mean, 1996, 97. I think it was 97. I was talking to people in Kentucky who were the only people making rye whiskey in America at that point because all the Pennsylvania distilleries had closed. Total rye sales for the entire country was 16,000 cases, which is nothing.
Yeah.
It's like nothing. And now it's millions of cases. And it was writers like me and David Wondrich and John Hansel. And it was bartenders, because a lot of the classic cocktails that we were making with bourbon and Canadian were originally rye cocktail. Manhattans are supposed to be made with rye. Old fashions maybe weren't supposed to be made with, but I think they taste pretty damn good with rye. A lot of these cocktails are made to be made with rye whiskey, and we've been making them with this. Canadian whiskey is much sweeter. That's the way it's supposed to be. Bourbon is much sweeter than rye, and that's again how it's supposed to be. And that's what they're using to make these cocktails. They just taste completely different when you make it with rye, and bartenders loved that, and they demanded more rye.
So the liquor industry has much more of a connection to bartenders than breweries do, than beer does.
They do now. They ignored bartenders too. They were just,
Just doing whatever. But like, when did cocktails then become popular? Is that a relatively new thing?
Started in the 90s, but really caught on in the 2000s.
And before that, it was just beer. And
Before that, it was stupid cocktails like whiskey sours that you make with a mix and you put whiskey in it and you shake it with ice. And like, here you go. That's what I did. I was a bartender in the 80s. That's what I did. That's what I was taught to do.
Yeah.
And if you're really nice, you put like an orange slice and a cherry in it. I got to say, I still remember the first time I saw somebody make a real whiskey sour, and I was just blown away. They had one of those juice presses, the big lever action things, and this guy's dressed in a freaking mess jacket and red pants, but it was the whole thing, right? And he's just dapper. And he puts that lemon in there and squeezes it and catches it in the glass, and he pours the whiskey in, and there's already ice in there, and he puts a little bit of superfine sugar in there and just shakes the bejesus out of it and pours it, and you can see stuff popping off of it. I'm like, I gotta have one of those. And it was awesome. And I'm like, this does not taste anything like the crap I've been making for the last 2 years.
yeah.
And it changed my mind. It really made an impression.
I've seen human robots like pushing really hard with like the Lucre taps, but
Yes.
there's kind of like a pushback to
Yes, there is.
like how you present beer, and maybe that's like they've seen like what bartenders are able to do with liquor.
Yeah.
They're able to kind of push that as well.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, presentation is a big part of it. You drink with your brain as much as you do with your mouth.
Yeah.
So if the thing looks good, if it is presented well, it's going to make an impression on you. I mean, it's like paying a lot of money for a bottle of whiskey. At a certain point, it tastes good because it has to, because I just paid a whole lot of money for it.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing.
And like wine, the sommeliers, they come out, they present it to you in
Yep.
a special glass.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Nice. We've been talking for a while. I would like to try these, but I don't know. Should we chug these real quick?
Yeah, let's
Try the sample one.
Yeah.
I think we should try the experimental.
So explain the experimental. It's
Sure. In this case, this is a bourbon made with, it's just 100 proof. I don't have an age. It's bourbon. It's at 100 proof, and it's made with a corn called Blue Claridge, and that's all I have.
So that corn is like the experimental.
That's the
piece of it.
experimental part.
Okay. How often do you get like these type of?
Oh gosh, not
shipments?
often enough. Yeah. I don't know. I don't get the experimentals that often, and I doubt I'm going to be anymore. I think people are pulling back, but I'll get a shipment of whiskey at least once a week.
Wow.
Yeah. This past week, I got a bottle of Michter's Toasted Barrel bourbon, and I got a sample of the latest Heaven Hill Larceny, I think, a wheated bourbon. So I'm happy. And then before that, I got 3 samples of a new whiskey. It was just blind. They didn't tell me what it was. And then, you like QR code some damn thing and you and fill out a thing, and guy's like, okay, thanks. Cause they asked me, would you mind doing this? I'm like, yeah, I can do that. And so we'll see what happens. I don't know. It was a guy I owed a favor to. So
are there things in the whiskey industry like hazy IPAs in the last 10 years kind of like took over?
It's funny. I wrote a column about this last year. I said, where's our hazy IPA? Because we don't have a thing. I don't think rye is it, because it has not blown everything out of the water like hazy IPA.
Hazy IPAs were like people that didn't like beer kind of liked it. It was kind of.
I don't know what, Fireball?
Yes.
Wow, that's got a different news.
This is a little hotter than the last one.
That is surprisingly dry for a bourbon. A little bit of. Wow, that crimpled the nose hair. Yeah. Almost like pancake without the syrup.
And you said this was what, blue corn?
I don't know that if it's blue. I've never heard of blue claridge. I don't know if it's actually blue or it's just
Fun name.
some name. I don't know. There is a farm not far from us, maybe 40 minutes. The guy grows seed for other farmers, and he has specialized in these forgotten grains. And I went in he took me in the like the bin room where all the different corns are, and it was like a freaking rainbow. It was dark blue, there was purple, there was green, like bright green. It was called Oaxacan green. And there was another one, I cannot remember the name. It's a woman's name, and I can't remember. It doesn't matter. That was just multicolored. It was all kinds of different colors, all off the same cob. And the thing is, a lot of times those colors come from compounds called anthocyanins, and they are flavor compounds. So as well as color, so you are getting some different flavor from that. And the whole time I was interviewing him, people are emailing him and texting him like, "You got any of this stuff? Got any of that? Good." And I mean, people are very interested in growing this stuff.
So my fiance lives in Oaxaca, and in the U.S., we have dent corn and sweet corn, the main two corns.
Yeah.
But in Mexico, there's 1,000 different types of corn. They don't even know how many there are. It's all these different
They
colors.
are starting to make whiskey. Which
They
is
are
awesome.
and especially so she knows a lot of like the mezcal and tequila producers down there, but a lot of her friends are starting to make corn whiskey because the corn is so different down there. It's like they have like direct access to these like very unique like single batch corns.
Yeah, yeah.
Limitless.
Yeah, they will. I've had samples from those too, and you'll get like 3 of them side by side. Everything's the same except what type of corn it is.
Yeah.
Really noticeably different.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah,
Sounds exciting.
I don't think about. I don't drink that much liquor, but it's like it's almost like our hops or your grapes. It's like that. That's how it's painted.
Yeah,
So it's cool. That's how you differentiate.
it is.
yourself.
Yeah, and I mean, especially because, I don't know, we got malt too. There's a lot of different malts that make a big difference. Smoked malt, acidulated malt, caramel, Vienna, Munich. All the different kinds of malts make a huge difference too. So I don't know, maybe whiskey's missing something. I don't know. Although I've had hopped whiskeys.
How are they?
Yeah, I've only ever had one that I really would have more of.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I think they tend to be like an IPA drinker is making them, and they just put way too much in.
Yeah.
It should be like an accent note.
Yeah.
Which and that one I did have, I thought it was pretty good. But, I kind of feel like that the way I feel about a long time barrel aged beer. If I wanted a bourbon, I'd have had a bourbon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you for coming on tonight.
Oh, yeah.
So your book, American Whiskey, a Masterclass.
Yep, just out.
Out now.
Yeah.
Where can we find it? At bookstores on
everywhere.
Amazon.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Cool.
Actually, Barnes & Noble is going to be featuring it on their tables in the bookstores. Yes, that's the first time I ever had that happen. It's pretty great.
That's cool. So where can we find you online? We can find you out on Saturdays on NBC.
Yeah, I'm on What's Brewing, and the podcast is Seen Through a Glass.
Your blog online.
Not blogging right now. I'm about to bring it back up.
right.
I don't know what the schedule is on that. I'm actually working with my daughter on that one, but soon.
Cool.
And that'll be Seen Through a Glass as well.
Cool. And then we can find you at Lew Bryson
Yes.
on social media.
Yeah.
Cool.
Insta and Facebook and Blue Sky and Twitter and yeah.
Everywhere. Well, thank you for everything you've done for Pennsylvania, for craft brewing. I've been following you for a while, so it's cool to kind of sit down and talk to you.
Thank you.
And I still don't know much about liquor, but it's nice to sit down with you and kind of dip my toes in this, so it's fun.
It's fun. Yeah, it's always fun to learn.
Awesome. And then you can find us at Brewdat, at the Brewdat Podcast. Subscribe on YouTube.
5-star.
5-star.
Hi.
You know the deal. All right. See you guys next week.
Thank you.
Cool.